Buddhāvataṃsaka Sutra. Book 18. Clarifying Method. Video 1. Then the enlightening being Vigorous Wisdom said to the enlightening being Truth Wisdom, O child of Buddha, when great enlightening beings first arouse the mind to seek all knowledge, they fulfill such infinite virtues, are replete with great adornments, climb up into the vehicle of omniscience, enter the correct state of enlightening beings, give up all worldly things and attain the transmundane truths of the Buddhas, are taken into the company of all the Buddhas of past, present, and future, and will certainly reach the ultimate point of unexcelled enlightenment. How should those enlightening beings practice the Buddha teachings so as to cause all the enlightened ones joy, enter the abode of all enlightening beings, attain purity of all great actions, fulfill all great vows, obtain the vast treasuries of enlightening beings, always teach according to necessity and potential for edification without ever giving up the transcending practices, cause all sentient beings under their care to attain deliverance, and continue the lineage of the three treasures unbroken, that their good roots and adaptive skills not be wasted? O child of Buddha, by what techniques can they cause these things to be fulfilled? Please extend your compassion to explain for us. Everyone in this assembly wants to hear. Furthermore, if great enlightening beings always diligently practice to annihilate all the darkness of ignorance, conquer demons and enemies and control heretics, forever wash away all afflictions defiling the mind, they will all be able to perfect all roots of goodness, forever escape the difficulties of all miserable realms of being, purify all spheres of great knowledge, accomplish all the stages of enlightenment and their pure virtues, the transcending practices, mnemonic mastery, concentration, the 6 super knowledges, and the 4 fearlessnesses adorning all Buddha lands. Their physical refinements as well, their bodily, verbal, and mental actions will all be perfectly complete. They will know well all the powers, fearlessnesses, unique qualities, omniscience, and spheres of action of all the enlightened ones, the Buddhas. In order to develop and mature all living beings according to their mentalities, they will take appropriate Buddha lands and expound the truth as necessary in accord with beings' faculties and in accord with the time and situation. They will fulfill various immeasurable great Buddha works, as well as innumerable other virtuous things, various practices, paths, and realms, and soon be equal to the enlightened ones. They can maintain and protect all the treasuries of truths assembled by the perfectly enlightened ones over their hundreds and thousands of immeasurable eons of cultivating enlightening practices, and can expound them unhindered and undisrupted by demons or heretics. They will hold the true teaching forever, and in all worlds when they teach they will be protected by celestial beings, Yaksha kings, Gandharva kings, Titan kings, Garuda kings, Kinnara kings, Maharaga kings, human kings, Brahma kings, and enlightened kings of truth. All worlds will respect and support them, alike crowning them. They will always be under the care of the Buddhas, and will also be loved and respected by all enlightening beings. Attaining the power of roots of goodness, they will increase virtuous ways, expound the treasury of profound teachings of the enlightened, and hold the true teaching, wherewith they will adorn themselves. Please expound the process of enlightening beings' practices. Then the enlightening being Vigorous Wisdom, wanting to reiterate his intention, spoke these verses. O famous one, well do you expound the virtues accomplished by enlightening beings, deeply entering boundless great action fulfilling pure teacherless knowledge. If enlightening beings, at their first inspiration, accomplish the practice of virtue and wisdom, enter the rank of freedom from birth, transcending the world, universally attaining the principle of true enlightenment, then how should they, in the Buddha teaching, stably and strongly practice with diligence, to progress further, to cause all the enlightened ones to rejoice, to be able to quickly enter the state of the Buddhas, fulfill all the pure vows they carry out, and attain the vast treasury of knowledge and wisdom, and also be able to teach the truth to liberate beings without their minds relying on or attached to anything, fulfill all the transcendent ways of enlightening beings, rescue and liberate all beings under their care, forever maintain the lineage of Buddhas unbroken, so all they do is sure and not in vain, and they accomplish all tasks and win emancipation. Please explain this pure path, in accord with what all the victors practice, to forever destroy the darkness of ignorance, overthrow all demons and heretics, wash away all defilements, to be able to approach the great knowledge and wisdom of the enlightened, and forever leave the dangers of the evil ways, to purify the extraordinary spheres of great knowledge, attain the powers of the sublime way, next to the Supreme Honored One, to fulfill all virtues, realize the supreme knowledge of the enlightened, live in innumerable lands, and expound the truth according to the mentalities of the beings there, and perform the various great deeds of Buddhas. How can they attain the wonderful paths and expound the treasury of true teachings of the enlightened, always able to accept and hold the Buddha teachings, unsurpassable and incomparable? How can they be fearless like lions, their acts pure as the full moon? How can they cultivate the Buddha's virtues, like lotuses to which water does not adhere? Then the enlightening being Truth Wisdom said to the enlightening being Vigorous Wisdom, "Very good, child of Buddha. You have asked about the pure practice cultivated by enlightening beings, out of compassion for the world, because you wish that many be aided and comforted, that many be benefited. Child of Buddha, you abide by the truth, you activate great vigor, increasing without recession. Having already attained liberation, you are able to pose this question, the same as an enlightened one. Listen clearly, think well upon this. Now, by the spiritual power of Buddha, I will explain a little of it for you. Child of Buddha, once enlightening beings have developed the determination for omniscience, they should leave the darkness of ignorance and diligently guard themselves from indulgence and laxity. If enlightening beings abide by 10 things, that is called non-indulgence. 1 is to keep the behavioral precepts. 2nd is to abandon folly and purify the will for enlightenment. 3rd is to like straightforwardness and reject flattery and deception. 4th is to earnestly cultivate virtues without regressing. 5th is to continually reflect on one's aspiration. 6th is not to enjoy association with ordinary people, whether they be householders or monks. 7th is to do good deeds without hoping for worldly rewards. 8th is to forever leave lesser vehicles and practice the path of enlightening beings. 9th is to gladly practice what is good, not letting goodness be cut off. 10th is to always examine one's own power of perseverance. If enlightening beings practice these 10 things, this is called abiding in non-indulgence. When enlightening beings persist in non-indulgence, they attain 10 kinds of purity. 1. Acting in accord with what they say. 2. Consummation of attention and discernment. 3. Abiding in deep concentration without torpor or agitation. 4. Gladly seeking Buddha teachings without flagging. 5. Contemplating the teachings heard according to reason, fully developing skillfully flexible knowledge. 6. Entering deep meditation and attaining the psychic powers of Buddhas. 7. Their minds are equanimous, without sense of high or low status. 8. In regard to superior, middling, and inferior types of beings, their minds are unobstructed, and like the earth, they benefit all equally. 9. If they see any beings who have even once made the determination for enlightenment, they honor and serve them as teachers. 10. They always respect, serve, and support their preceptors and tutors, and all enlightening beings, wise friends, and teachers. These are called the 10 kinds of purity of enlightening beings persisting in non-indulgence. Enlightening beings abide in non-indulgence, evoke great vigor, produce correct mindfulness, engender supreme aspiration, and work unceasingly. Their minds are free from dependence on anything. They are able to diligently cultivate the most profound teaching, and enter the gate of non-contention. Broadening their minds, they are able to accordingly comprehend boundless Buddha teachings, causing the enlightened ones to all rejoice. There are 10 more things by which enlightening beings can cause the Buddhas to rejoice. 1. Persevering without regression. 2. Not begrudging their physical life. 3. Not seeking profit or support. 4. Knowing all things are like space. 5. Being skillful at contemplation, entering into all realms of reality. 6. Knowing the definitive marks of all things. 7. Always invoking great vows. 8. Developing the light of pure tolerant knowledge. 9. Examining one's own virtues without exaggeration or underestimation. 10. Cultivating pure practices in accord with the way of non-striving. This is called enlightening beings persisting in 10 things, whereby they are able to bring joy to all the enlightened ones. There are 10 more things by which they can make all Buddhas joyful: abiding securely in non-indulgence, abiding securely in acceptance of non-origination, abiding securely in great kindness, abiding securely in great compassion, abiding securely in the fulfillment of the transcendent ways, abiding securely in the enlightening practices, abiding securely in great vows, abiding securely in skillful means, abiding securely in dauntless power, abiding securely in knowledge and wisdom, observing all things have no abode, like empty space. If enlightening beings abide in these 10 things, they can cause all Buddhas joy. There are 10 things which cause enlightening beings to quickly enter the stages. 1. Skillfully fulfilling the twin practices of virtue and knowledge. 2. Ability to greatly adorn the path of the transcendent practices. 3. Knowledge clearly comprehending, not following others' words. 4. Serving good friends, never abandoning them. 5. Always practicing perseverance, without laziness. 6. Skillful ability to abide in the psychic powers of Buddhas. 7. Cultivating roots of goodness without growing wearied. 8. With a deep mind and incisive knowledge, adorning oneself with the teaching of the great vehicle. 9. The mind not dwelling on the teachings of each stage. 10. Being of the same essential nature as all Buddhas of all times in virtue and liberative means. These 10 things cause enlightening beings to quickly enter the stages. Furthermore, when enlightening beings are in the first stage, they should carefully investigate all the principles and knowledge pertaining to it, the causes cultivated there, the effects realized, the spheres, functions, manifestations, distinctions, and attainments pertaining to it. They should carefully examine and realize that all things are one's own mind, and have no attachment to anything. With this knowledge they enter the stages of enlightening beings and can steadfastly continue therein. Those enlightening beings formulate these thoughts: we should quickly enter the stages. Why? If we sojourn in stage after stage, we will develop such great virtuous qualities. Being replete with virtue, we will gradually enter the stage of Buddhahood. Once we are in the stage of Buddhahood, we can perform boundless great Buddha works. Therefore we should always practice diligently and unremittingly, without wearying, adorning ourselves with great virtues, and enter the stages of enlightening beings. There are 10 things which cause the practices of enlightening beings to be pure. 1. Giving up all possessions to satisfy the wishes of sentient beings. 2. Adhering to pure morality, not transgressing. 3. Being inexhaustibly gentle and tolerant. 4. Cultivating practices diligently without regressing. 5. Being free from confusion and mental disturbance, through the power of correct mindfulness. 6. Analyzing and comprehending the innumerable teachings. 7. Cultivating all practices without attachment. 8. Being mentally imperturbable, like a great mountain. 9. Extensively liberating living beings, like a bridge. 10. Knowing that all living beings are in essence the same as the Buddhas. These 10 things make enlightening beings' practices pure. Once enlightening beings have attained purity in practice, they also attain 10 even greater things. 1. The Buddhas of other realms always protect them. 2. The roots of goodness increase, going beyond any comparison. 3. They are able to receive the boosting power of the Buddhas. 4. They always find good people and are relied on by them. 5. They remain diligent and are never heedless. 6. They know all things are equal and not different. 7. Their minds always abide in unexcelled great compassion. 8. They observe things as they really are, producing sublime wisdom. 9. They are able to practice skillful techniques of liberation. 10. They are able to know the enlightened one's power of skill in liberative means. These are the 10 excellent qualities of enlightening beings. Enlightening beings have 10 pure vows. 1. They vow to develop living beings to maturity, without wearying. 2. They vow to fully practice all virtues and purify all worlds. 3. They vow to serve the enlightened, always engendering honor and respect. 4. They vow to keep and protect the true teaching, not begrudging their lives. 5. They vow to observe with wisdom and enter the lands of the Buddhas. 6. They vow to be of the same essence as all enlightening beings. 7. They vow to enter the door of realization of thusness and comprehend all things. 8. They vow that those who see them will develop faith and all be benefited. 9. They vow to stay in the world forever by spiritual power. 10. They vow to fulfill the practice of universal good, and master the knowledge of all particulars and all ways of liberation. These are the 10 pure vows of enlightening beings. Enlightening beings can successfully fulfill their great vows by abiding by 10 principles. 1. Never wearying in mind. 2. Preparing great adornments. 3. Remembering the superlative willpower of enlightening beings. 4. When hearing about the Buddha lands, vowing to be born in them all. 5. Keeping their profound determination everlasting. 6. Vowing to develop all living beings fully. 7. Staying through all ages without considering it troublesome. 8. Accepting all suffering without aversion. 9. Having no craving for or attachment to any pleasures. 10. Always diligently protecting the unexcelled teaching. When enlightening beings fulfill such vows, they attain 10 inexhaustible treasuries, perception of the Buddhas, perfect memory power, certain understanding of all the teachings, compassionate salvation, various states of concentration, extensive blessings and virtues satisfying the hearts of all beings, profound knowledge to expound all truths, spiritual powers gained as a consequence of practice, subsistence for immeasurable eons, entry into boundless worlds. These are enlightening beings' 10 inexhaustible treasuries. When enlightening beings have attained these 10 treasuries, their virtue is complete, their knowledge is pure. They explain the truth to sentient beings according to their needs and capacities. How do enlightening beings explain the truth to sentient beings according to their needs and capacities? They know what beings do. They know their causes and conditions. They know their mental behavior. They know their inclinations. To those with much greed and desire they expound impurity. To those with much anger and hatred they expound magnanimity and kindness. To those with much ignorance and delusion they teach diligent contemplation. To those in whom these poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance are equal, they expound the teaching of the development of the knowledge to overcome them. Those who like birth and death they teach about the 3 kinds of suffering. To those who are attached to where they are, they teach the empty nullity of places. To those who are lazy they talk of great vigor. To those who harbor conceit they explain the equality of things. To flatterers and deceivers they tell of the simple honesty of the hearts of enlightening beings. To those who like silence and tranquility they expound the teaching extensively, so that they will accomplish it. Thus do enlightening beings teach according to what is necessary and appropriate. When they expound the teaching, their expressions interlink, the meanings are free from contradiction and confusion. They observe the context of the teachings, analyze them wisely, determine right and wrong, accord with the definitive marks of things impermanence, dispassion, and selflessness, and progressively set up boundless practical approaches, to cause all sentient beings to cut off all doubt. They know all faculties well, enter into the teachings of the enlightened, experience true reality, know things are equal, cut off all attachment to things, eliminate all clinging, and always remember the Buddhas, their minds never leaving them for a moment. They know the substance and essence of sounds are equal, and have no attachment to verbalizations. They can skillfully expound examples and allegories, without any contradiction, to make everyone able to realize the impartial body of wisdom which all the Buddhas manifest everywhere according to need and suitability. When enlightening beings expound the teaching to sentient beings in this way, they practice it themselves, increasing its benefit, not giving up the ways of transcendence, fully setting out the path of the transcendent practices. At this time, enlightening beings give up everything external and internal, without attachment, to satisfy the hearts of sentient beings, thus they can purify the transcendent practice of giving. They keep ethical precepts without attachment, forever divorcing conceit, thus they can purify the transcendent practice of morality. They are able to tolerate all evils, with minds equanimous toward all beings, without disturbance or wavering, just like the earth, able to bear all, thus they can purify the transcendent practice of forbearance. They undertake all practices without laziness, never regressing in what they do, with indomitable courage and energy, not grasping or rejecting all virtues, but able to fulfill all aspects of knowledge, thus they can purify the transcendent practice of vigor. They have no attachment or greed for any objects of desire, are able to consummate the successive degrees of concentration, always meditate correctly, neither dwelling in or leaving concentration, yet able to dissolve all afflictions, produce innumerable facets of concentration, develop boundless great psychic powers, going back and forth successively from meditation state to meditation state. In one meditation enter boundless meditations, knowing all spheres of meditation, not discordant with the seal of knowledge of all concentrations and trances, able to quickly enter the stage of omniscience, thus they can purify the transcendent practice of meditation. Hearing the teaching from the Buddhas and accepting and keeping it, associating with wise companions, serving them tirelessly, always glad to hear the teaching, never growing weary of it, thinking about what is heard according to the true principle, entering genuine concentration, divorcing all biased views, observing all things well, apprehending the definite mark of the character of reality, comprehending the effortless path of the enlightened, riding on universal wisdom, entering the gate of the knowledge of all knowledge, attaining eternal rest. Thus can they purify transcendent wisdom. Manifesting all worldly occupations to teach living beings, never getting tired of it, appearing to them in forms pleasing to them, having no attachment to anything done, sometimes manifesting the acts of ordinary people, sometimes manifesting the acts of sages, sometimes manifesting birth and death, sometimes manifesting nirvana, able to keenly observe all doings and manifest all adornments without covetousness, entering all realms of existence to liberate sentient beings. Thus can they purify the transcendent practice of skill in means. Thoroughly developing all living beings, thoroughly adorning all worlds, making offerings to all Buddhas, completely arriving at the state of non-obstruction, thoroughly cultivating practice extending throughout the universe, physically remaining throughout all times, knowing the thoughts of all minds, being fully aware that all cyclic transformations return to extinction, appearing in all lands, completely realizing the knowledge and wisdom of the enlightened, thus they can purify the transcendent practice of vows. Replete with the power of profound will, being without defilement, replete with the power of profound faith, being invincible, replete with the power of great compassion, never being wearied, replete with the power of great kindness, being impartial in action, replete with memory power, being able to skillfully retain all meanings, replete with the power of elucidation, causing all beings to be happy and fulfilled, replete with the power of transcendent practices, adorning the great vehicle, replete with the power of vows, never ceasing, replete with the power of spiritual abilities, producing innumerable miracles, replete with the power of strengthening and sustaining, able to induce faith and acceptance. Thus can they purify the transcendent practice of power. Knowing those who act on covetousness, knowing those who act on anger, knowing those who act on folly, knowing those who act equally on all of these, knowing those who cultivate learning, in a single thought knowing the actions of boundless sentient beings, knowing the minds of boundless sentient beings, knowing the truth of all things, knowing the powers of all enlightened ones, being aware of all aspects of the cosmos of reality, thus can they purify the transcendent practice of knowledge. Continue to video 2.